Good afternoon. This is Tavish and Quan Tracy Cherry.
Hi.
And Cherry off to the side. We will get her on camera one day, I promise. Or we'll get her in her sleep. Well, we are here this week for Food Week. And on the way over, I was thinking about just how to start, which normally I don't think about how to start. But Food Week is really important, especially right now, because it kind of goes into some deep areas. The basis of Food Week can be fun, food, but really it's about basic needs. Yeah. And if you are a person at any point in your life that hasn't had basic needs met for any period of time, there's a shame, there's some active triggers, there are things that just, unless we really deal with the emotions around those things, and really those are things we don't want to look at. So it's hard to attach our feelings really to those things, and to realize we react because of those things sometimes. So underneath, talking about food and recipes and families and coming together and cultures and all those kinds of things, underneath it all is basic need.
Yes. And what happens as we share the meals with others, or as we cook the meal, or as we go to shop for the meal, and all of what goes on into it, and it's mental, followed by music from last week, which was emotional, spiritual, and then mentors, emotional.
Yes.
Emotional, spiritual, mental, mentor, music, food.
Yes.
And then next week, ignorance,
physical.
Because I know that week one for me and week 1, 2, and 3 connect in terms of I see food as a creative act, a way of showing love for the people around me. I'm more of a chef, cook, than a baker, because I don't like to measure. I intuit it.
I'm kind of like that too.
And yeah, I mean, it's just a part of it. And the mentor is Miss Cozart from Boys Chef in 7th grade. Started a class up because she knew I was interested in cooking. And it's rare for me not to have music playing while cooking. If music isn't playing, then I'm either in such a rush.
Or it's a different experience.
Yes, exactly. It's a totally different experience. Yeah. But it's 8 out of 9 times music is playing. And I love food. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I would say I'm so much of a foodie, but I have foodie tendencies.
Foodie intentions?
No, foodie tendencies.
Okay, all right.
So what was your, because there was very little food insecurity. I didn't, because my grandmother, Cherry's mother, lived 2 doors down. So there was consistently a place where I knew that there would be something there to eat, or someone that if they didn't cook it, because I started cooking breakfast as early as age 6, they taught me how to do it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, but I wanted to be independent.
And I came from a family that cooked eventually. But
Eventually?
My childhood, at the point, so when I was 8 or 9 years old, my mom left. I have a younger brother and sister,
okay. And
we lived with our dad, who was, as he likes to say, we all grew up together. And so our kitchen lacked a lot of basic necessities. And I remember one time when I was like 10, he offered me $50 to clean the kitchen, and I wouldn't do it. And $50 in 1978 was a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
And yeah, I wouldn't do it, so we threw everything away.
Okay.
And then we ate McDonald's or pizza pretty much for the next year until he learned to barbecue.
Okay.
And then we barbecued. I think that was after a particularly awful episode of Hamburger Surprise where everybody got sick.
From the McDonald's or whatever?
No, this was something he made at home before
Okay.
we went to that. But so we had an interruption, and then my dad got remarried. Stepmom came in. All of a sudden, he was a gourmet, and they cooked all the time, and everything was great. We have all these family recipes, but we all hiccup over that period where there wasn't food in our house.
And so, how did that make you feel about if you went to other people's houses and they had the kitchens and the food, or did you think about it?
I'm a weird bird, so I don't look at the things that are wrong in my life, or haven't, until much later. Something has always just kept me going and not really looked at it until I'm in a safe place. I deal with abandonment issues, period. Mom left. Hi, Mom. But I think I deal with things in a way that something keeps me going. My self-esteem stays up, and then I look at it later and go, ooh, wow, how'd I do that? How'd I get through that? I don't deal with the feelings until after I'm safe with them. I don't know if it's healthy, but it has served me for
a healthy piece of time.
About 40, it caught up with me.
Okay.
I had to start tearing into those issues, but food is so much of our formation.
Yes.
Of our psyche and of how we're nurtured and nourished. So there are so many things to look at in there. Good and bad.
Yeah, because I saw
rules. Food rules.
Just the aspect of being at different friends' houses, or even my stepmom's house, and how they enjoyed, or they gave the appearance of enjoying cooking. And I didn't see that joy, because you didn't enjoy it.
No, and I
Still don't. And she was the black pepper queen. And so even to this day, I had to bring up the black pepper. And so even to this day, I'm conscious. Even Brian sometimes says, you really ignore, but I like the red and black hot shot pepper together. So but it is kind
Foodie.
of that I'm conscious. Oh yeah, I really need to own that. And then I can remember one of the last conversations I had with my father, where the women that he married or lived with, they were cooks, right? And so he didn't have to cook. And I said, how did you manage to live, most of your adult life? And your father and my father are around the same, close enough in age, that I just don't think that there was socialization for men.
Now my family was weird like that, because the men cooked. My grandmother used to marvel, like, none of the women in the family cooked. My grandma, I cook all the time. None of us cook. All our husbands cook. Wink, wink. Like, no, I cook.
I cook. Yeah, you just
and I love
that.
it. I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
But my dad's a great cook now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in the family. My brother trained as a chef.
See, I still think would like that aspect of maybe doing something formal, but there's still some more life to live for sure.
Right. And tying it all back to where we might have missed some steps in being nourished in our lives, or just at different times you aren't taking care of yourself the way that you should be. We let go of nourishment for a little bit.
And that's part of just where we are as a culture, as a country, as a nation, and our understanding food deserts, where there are places that you don't have fresh food, but you have multiple fast food restaurants, and just the way in which it seems to be able to eat healthily can be a challenge in certain places. And because it's so easy. Matter of fact, I have to drive past 3 fast food restaurants before a supermarket, whether I go east or west. So even in that, 4.
Well, how many more fast food restaurants are there than supermarkets?
Exactly.
That's a staggering number.
Yeah, and so but we have such a good PR that we'll present ourselves as the breadbasket to the world, but then we don't even feed our own people. It's just, that's the political, well, social economic side
But
of it.
yeah, I've kind of never had that connection to food, and I really still don't. Except, and I've told this story before, about the mint. And as a little girl, everybody seemed to be busy doing something, probably cooking. And I couldn't have been over 5. And I would sit on the steps. And you have to understand, this was the project. So there wasn't a lot of land, there wasn't a lot of anything, but the steps that I sat on, there was mint growing up through the cracks. And I could smell it.
Yeah.
And till this day, no matter where mint is, whether I taste it in gum or whatever I'm doing, or it's being applied to something like very nicely in mojitos and other places, I always can go to that other part of myself, to the creative part. And I use it kind of repeatedly in my writing because it really sends me places. And it's just mint.
I resonate with that. I have 5 kinds of mint growing in my garden.
You do?
I do, because it ties to my childhood.
That's nice.
I drink mint
I
tea.
have to get, because I just, and that's what it's no other herb. I mean, there are many and
Oh, well, yeah.
but that particular one, because at 5, it took me places in my imagination. I mean, and it did.
And that's a good point, just what one herb will do. Just what one ingredient
Like a little moonlight.
can make a difference.
I mean, if I had to ask you, either one of you, what mint is your mint? What is the mint in your life from the herbs? What sends you places?
I love basil.
Ah.
And I love, I mean, there's a particular recipe with ginger and basil that I can get from a restaurant that I'm not going to name. But also trying to cook it here. But basil, and I love ginger, but ginger isn't,
Not an herb.
it's not a herb, but basil, if pushed.
Mint is one of mine, and black pepper. I love black pepper.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I thought it separated from food, really, until, I started doing this program. I mean, it was just something that was in my imagination, but,
And I mean, you can add oregano. I mean, the Italian seasonings in that way.
yeah.
But
All you have to do is look in the kitchen for your herbs. Everyone that grows in the history of herbs is in this kitchen. Duplicate it.
I cleaned the herb cabinet once.
yeah.
I got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
It's because it's a
They're spicy.
It's a mood.
Yes.
It's a mood atmosphere thing. I don't really know sometimes what the flavor profile will be until I'm in the moment in the
I
kitchen.
think it's fabulous. It's fabulous. My connection to food is I didn't have to eat as a kid. My mother did not make me eat. So I could choose what I wanted to. And I guess I chose mint. What can I say?
Or it chose you.
It chose me,
just by
actually.
being in that environment, and you became aware.
Because everybody was always busy.
Well, getting the hustle on.
Right. And I just wanted things quiet. I would say meditate, but what did I know at 5? I wouldn't have called it that.
Well,
But
mint
I
would
was
have been.
dreaming.
Mint could be a meditation.
Yeah.
I mean, I can go through my herb garden and just stand there for a little bit, and I'm in a meditative
Right.
state.
Right. So, but that's
The senses
different.
take
But
you those places, and
Sure.
food brings us to senses.
No doubt about it. And I just know that it's another form of creativity. The cooking is just another.
And I've
act
seen
of
you
love.
do that. I've seen that. So what are you putting in? Well, I haven't decided. I mean, he's got all the bowls and the mints, and I'm not the mints, but everything going. I said, what are you going to put in? I've not decided yet.
Sometimes you just start with a base,
Yeah.
and it builds.
It's watching a creative process when it's happening. When I watch you do that. So it isn't that I eat everything, so it isn't that I'm not eating it, but I am aware that I am looking at a creative process when you cook, if I'm in the kitchen.
That's nice.
That is, thank you.
Yeah, because you first of all got music going. That's a given. But I recognize that you may start off here to your right for whatever is over there, and you wind up over here, and you wind up over there, and you wind up over there, and it's always a creative process. And I'm aware of it. And I've always been aware of it.
Well, you're that older woman in Portland that was in her 90s. And I asked her what her secret was, and she looked me dead in the eye and said, greens.
Yes, she did.
And so since 2004, about the last 16 years, since this woman said this to me, I want to call her Miss Jackie, but that might have been her name, but that's who she's going to be right now.
She has gone to her reward.
She's gone to her reward. And she was 90-something. And if she had breathed in and said she was 65, you wouldn't have thought anything of it because of the spirit, not just the. And since then, I have went on to perfect what I consider to be my green mixture. And if you think I'm gonna just give it out on this, no, you're wrong. Some things have to stay in the family.
Do you remember your grandfather in pot liquor?
Yes.
Why don't you tell that story?
Well, he said, this is my grandfather, who basically said that when he was born, not that they were so poor, but there was no breastfeeding, right?
It was breastfeeding, but his mother her milk hadn't come down.
Yet. So what pot liquor was, the actual water, the juice from the greens.
Okay.
Because you always consistently add more water than you need for the greens.
And he said that's what saved his life.
That's what saved his life. And now you got with bone broth, I mean, all of the things that we do now.
Going back to the
I mean, it's, and I even have over the past 4 to 5 years, made my own broth from vegetables that I freeze, the stems and whatever. And it's a testament, whenever I'm doing things like that, I know that there's something well ordered in my life. If you see me, taking frozen parts of vegetables or whatever out of the freezer and I'm making broth, my own broth, that's the way that I know I'm aligned in some proper way, because I've made the time to do it, and it means that my life is in some kind of order or priority, and now I don't make spaghetti without Roma tomatoes as part of augmenting whatever sauce. I haven't made one from scratch yet, a sauce from scratch.
Oh, it's amazing. I do it all the time.
Yeah, I bet you do. I still augment with the canned tomatoes or whatever.
We'll get to that next year because tomatoes are done.
They're done. C'est fini.
I got like 4 still on the vine.
Yeah. But no, I wouldn't want to see what my life would have been or what it would be like if I didn't have a love.
If you didn't have a...
If I didn't have a love for cooking. I just think if you can take the time to cook for someone, you're more likely to get a warm and intimate connection if you can't do it.
Well, you can definitely build connections.
Yeah. But also it's not only about, getting, in bed with someone. It's also about being able to take care of yourself.
Right.
I mean.
But we have a lot of people walking around with eating disorders and a relationship with food that is incredibly unhealthy, and they don't get to find the love for it, and it's, that's why food is such an important aspect, and it goes in these first 4 weeks of the underpinnings of who we are. It's all the nitty-gritty. It's the rawest of the material.
It's the rawest of the material.
Yeah.
Me gusta. I like that. Well,
Food for thought.
definitely food for thought.
Food for thought. Oh, that's great.
Because it's mental.